lines. I want to get you the main gist. Okay, so Lamed Amun Aleph. Actually, you may remember the top line. We actually just finished this last week. This is talking about if Kitisa falls out in Shikalim and all this. And so what I want to do, I want to just skip for a couple of times. Let's go to the second wide line. Halihiyot betoch Shabbat. The second wide line from Lamed Amun Aleph. And so we'll just read a couple of lines and we'll skip again, okay? Because I want to get the basic mahloket down so we can move. Second one line, Lamed Amun Aleph. Halihiyot betoch Shabbat. If Rosh Chodesh falls out in the middle of the week, betoch Shabbat means the middle of the week. Maktimin Shabbat Shebe'avda. You go back. We have there's a Chavtet package. Just turn the page one time. You got it. So if Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out in the middle of the week, then Maktimin, you go back and you reach Shekalim backwards, like we did this year, yeah? If you look at the calendar, Rosh Chodesh Adar is going to be this Tuesday, Wednesday. You have the calendar here? I printed some calendars. It's here. So Rosh Chodesh Adar is going to be next week, guys. Yeah? No, not next week, 2 weeks. It's going to be Tuesday, the 21st, and we're going to go and reach Shekalim, the 18th. And so if Rosh Chodesh falls out in the middle of the week, we go and reach Shekalim before. Let's see what we say over here. Itemar says in the Gemara, we're on the third wide line. Rosh Chodesh Adar shehal yot be'erev Shabbat. If Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out on Friday is Rosh Chodesh Adar. Rav Amar Maktimin. Rav says, reach Shekalim the Shabbat before Rosh Chodesh. Shmuel Amar me'aharim. Shmuel says, nah, tomorrow's Shabbat. Today's Rosh Chodesh, Friday. Tomorrow's Shabbat. It's okay, it's good enough. Reach Shekalim tomorrow. So Rav holds, you make it later, and Shmuel holds, you make it earlier. If Rosh Chodesh Adar is Friday. Okay, what's the reason?
Does it ever come out
Rosh
Friday?
Chodesh Adar, Friday.
Never comes out Friday.
Let's see. In the days before Hillel HaZaken's set calendar, it can come out any day. Now we have a calendar, so we'll get there. But in the beginning of the times, anything can fall out on any day. There was no set calendar like we have a planning calendar. There's no such thing. They decided on the spot when every Rosh Chodesh is going to be. There was no calendar. Okay? So we have mahloket. What is the reason for their mahloket? Rav Amar Maktimin. Why do I tell you go all the way back to the last Shabbat? Yimkin, if so, Batsri Lehu. What does Batsri Lehu mean? In Aramaic, you're missing. Basri Lehu Yomei Shulchanut. You're missing some days for the table guys. Who are the table guys? The change guys, yeah? You have to have 2 weeks preparation, warning before the change guys set up their tables. And that's exactly Rosh Chodesh, to bring your money for change, for Shekalim. If you make it the next day, you're missing 1 day of change. I need 2 weeks. So therefore, I'm going to make it go all the way back. It's almost 3 weeks warning. Yeah? And Shmuel Amad, what is his reason? Why do we say, yeah, do it tomorrow, it's okay. Me'ahanin, you make it later. Amalach, he'll say to you, soft at the end of the day, Hamesad, the 15th, when the guys set up change tables, currency exchange, Hamesad, b'ma'aleh Shabbatam megillah. It's going to come out on Friday also. If the first Rosh Chodesh Adar is Friday, then the 15th is also going to be Friday. They're not going to go out and set tables up on Friday. Who's going to set up tables for cash and change on Friday? Ad had b'Shabbat. They're going to wait until Sunday. So Hilkach, therefore, me'ahanin. You can read it tomorrow. It's okay, because if they read it tomorrow Shabbat, they're actually having 2 weeks and 1 day notice before the change, because no one's setting up tables for change on Friday. Now it's interesting because remember we had a mahloket. One opinion was you need 30 days warning, and that's why we do Rosh Chodesh Adar. Remember last week? Why do we do Shekalim Rosh Chodesh Adar? One opinion says you need 30 days warning, like Pesach. Shloshim Yom Kodem LePesach, we learn Halachot Pesach. Shloshim Yom Kodem Nisan, we have to announce the Shekalim. The other opinion, Abba Shimon ben Gamliel said 2 weeks only for the tables. It seems that both Rav and Shmuel, both of them hold like Abba Shimon ben Gamliel, which it seems. Because the truth is, you could ask a question, who cares about the tables? What about the other opinion? You need a month's notice. Shmuel definitely holds not like the month. Shmuel, you don't have a month's notice, Shmuel. You're missing days. But he holds you, as long as you have the 2 weeks notice for the change, you're kosher. And so we can see here, even Rob in his answer, he says, don't worry, the change guys are coming Sunday. You can read ask Rob. Who cares about the change guys? What about the other opinion? It's not about change. It's about 30 days notice. You can see that both Rav and Shemuel hold the reason we read it is not for 30 days notice, it's for the change. It's for the 2 weeks before the change. Anyway, we have a mahloket, Rav and Shemuel. Rav says, make it earlier. Shemuel says, make it later. Let's skip now to the next 2 lines. Go down like, 10 lines or so. You see 2 dots. Another itemat. 9 lines maybe? See 2 dots? Itemat. B'sheniya zachor is the first words, and then itemat. You have it, Ezra? Itemat. Purim shehal liot be'erev Shabbat. We just the last thing we said was, what if Rosh Chodesh falls out on Erev Shabbat? Now we say, what if Purim falls out on Erev Shabbat? Purim is on Friday. What do you do? So let's see. Rav says, Maktimin Parashat Zachor. You have to make Parashat Zachor last week. It has to be before Purim. But tomorrow is Shabbat. Can't we do it tomorrow? Rav says, no. Shmuel Amar Me'ahanim. Same mahloket. Shmuel says, today's Purim, Friday, tomorrow Shabbat. Yeah, it's okay. Do Zachor tomorrow. Close enough. It's after Purim one day. Do Zachor tomorrow. You don't have to go back a whole week. Rav Amar Maktimin, what is the reason? Rav Amar says, go earlier. We have a mitzvah to wipe out Haman, wipe out Amalek. And on Purim, we actually wipe out Amalek. And so how could you say, I just wiped him out yesterday on Purim, and now you're telling me, by the way, I just did it yesterday. And so the Zechira has to be before the Asiyah. I saw one person ask a nice question. What about Na'aseh v'nishma? We do first, and then we listen. It's an interesting question he asked. But the bottom line is, Rav says, no, you have to have the Zechira. Someone has to say, we have to announce from the Torah, don't forget to wipe out Amalek, and then Purim comes, we fulfill it. This is what we want to do. Ushmuel Amad Me'ahanim. He says, it's okay. Do Zachor the next day, after Purim. Why? Since the walled cities, which we will learn soon, hopefully, the walled cities like Shushan, Yerushalayim, they do Purim, Shushan Purim. The next day, that's the same day. That's Saturday. It's the same day. They're announcing it in Hus La'ares to wipe them out, and there are people wiping them out right now. It's Purim on Shabbat. And so therefore, and we'll talk about Purim on Shabbat later, but therefore Shmuel with the same exact mahloket. Rav holds we go early, and Shmuel holds we go late. Okay, now I want to skip one more time, and we'll read. We're going to do it in a second. We'll read Halacha L'Maaseh in a second. Now let's skip like 7 more lines. Bishlishit para aduma. No, not that one. The next one. It's like 5 lines from the bottom of the page. The 4th parasha is Parashat HaChodesh. Now let's read the Gemara. Now that we know this mahloket Rav and Shmuel. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned. Rosh Chodesh Adar shehal liot b'Shabbat. If Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out on Shabbat, Purim kitisa, we read kitisa. Umaftirim beYehoyada, and we read Haftarah is Yehoyada. Ve'ezu hi Shabbat Yishuna. What is the first week? Kol shehal Rosh Chodesh Adar liot b'tocha. If Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out in this week, that's how you know it's the first week, and you have to read Shekalim before that. Well, I feel better Shabbat, even Friday. We'll do Halacha L'Maaseh in 1 second. B'Sheniya, the second one, Zachor. What is the Haftarah for Zachor? Umaftirin Pakadati. Ve'ezu hi Shabbat Sheniya. What's the second Shabbat? How do I know it's time for Zachor? How do I know it's the second week? Kol shehal Purim nil petocha. The week that Purim is falling in it, we want to read Zachor right before that. So I feel better Shabbat, even Friday. B'Shlishit para aduma. The third parasha is para. Umaftirin ve'zarati alachem. Mayim teorim. And I will throw on you the holy waters. Ve'ezu hi Shabbat Shlishit. How do I know it's the time for para aduma? Kol shesimucha lePurim me'achareha. As long as it's directly the Shabbat after Purim. Directly the Shabbat after Purim is going to be para. B'Revi'it, the last one, the last of the Arba Parashiyot, the last one. HaChodesh Hazeh. Shabbat HaChodesh, these. Umaftirin, Ko Amar Hashem Elokim, Parishon Be'achal HaChodesh, that's the Haftarah. Let's turn the page to Lamed Amud Bet. Ve'ezohi Shabbat Revi'it. You have it there? Lamed Amud Bet? It should be there. Ve'ezohi, I didn't print it, guys? Ay. I didn't print it? Ya haram. Ve'ezohi Shabbat, I'll read it to you. Ve'ezohi Shabbat Revi'it. What is the fourth week? Kol shehad Rosh Chodesh Nisan liyot betocha. When Rosh Chodesh Nisan is going to be in this week, that's the week you have to say Parashat HaChodesh. Va'afil be'erev Shabbat, even Erev Shabbat. Mamash, I didn't print Lamed Amud Bet? I wanted you guys to see this. Okay, hold on one second. Let me grab you two Gemaras. Here's three. Want to pass them? Lamed Amud Bet. If anyone wants to see inside, it's actually very cool to see it. Okay. I want to read one Rashi with you guys inside. It's a top Rashi on Lamed Amud Bet. It's very cool. Let me know when you guys are ready. You ready? Lamed Amud Bet, the top Rashi. Let me know when we're at green light. Okay? You tell me, want to help read that? Okay, here we go. Rashi says, Ve'ezo hi Shabbat Revi'it. What is the fourth week? Va'afil be'erev Shabbat. Even if it comes out Erev Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, this is the fourth week. Says Rashi, this is a good Rashi for you to learn inside. You'll never forget it, I think. Shmuel agrees. The Erev Shabbat Dumya de Tocha. The Erev Shabbat is just like if it falls out in the middle of the week, which means the Chodesh Nisan, Parashat HaChodesh is always going to be back. Always. Mu'matimin, even according to Shmuel, Parashat HaChodesh will never be after Rosh Chodesh Nisan. We don't say you make it after. How could it be? You're going to tell them about Rosh Chodesh Nisan after Rosh Chodesh Nisan. No, you have to announce Rosh Chodesh Nisan before Rosh Nisan. Ve'anan nohagin, says Rashi, halakha l'maaseh. Ve'anan nohagin. We have a custom, bechuluhu, in all of these cases, kerav, like Rav, which means maktimin. We go backwards. We don't push forward. We push backwards. Chutz mipunim shehal liyot b'Shabbat atzma. Except if punim falls out on Shabbat itself. Very good. Hold on one second. Very good. In the old days, it could be, yeah? Dahi lo ikla kalal, says Rashi, Purim will never fall out on Shabbat, as Ezra just said. If that's the case, Rosh Chodesh Adar be'ahad b'Shabbat. Rosh Chodesh Adar would fall out on the first. It's the only way to make Purim fall out on Shabbat is if the first falls out on Shabbat, then the 15th, then the 14th can fall out on Shabbat, right? Rosh Chodesh Nisan b'Sheni b'Shabbat. And then if that happened, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the next month would be Monday. Shari Adar le'olam hasir, because Adar is always missing 1 month. It's not a full month. V'imken hava le'Pesach b'Sheni b'Shabbat. If you follow this pattern, then Pesach, which is 2 weeks later, will also be on a Monday. V'kaim alan, and we know for a fact the law. What is this? Anyone want to say what this is? Want to guess what this is? The lo badu Pesach le'olam. What does it mean? Lo badu Pesach. Lo bet daled vav Pesach le'olam. Pesach will never be on Monday, the second day of the week. On Daled, the fourth day of the week, which is Wednesday, and on Vav, the sixth day of the week, which is Friday. So therefore, as she says, since we know Pesach can never be on a Monday, must be Rosh Chodesh Nisan can never be on a Monday, and if Rosh Chodesh Nisan can't be on a Monday, that means Purim can't be on Shabbat. So in our calendar, Purim is impossible to fall out on Shabbat.
Before we said Erev Shabbat.
Erev Shabbat, Friday. But we also said Shabbat. Yeah. Okay, so we have a set calendar now. It used to be that Beit Din made Rosh Chodesh by the witnesses seeing the moon. It was not a set calendar. So like we said last week, I think, you could be sitting there, you could be doing whatever you're doing. All of a sudden, some guy says, "Hey, did you hear? Yesterday was Rosh Chodesh." What? I missed the whole thing. They announced it if you're in Husla Ares. Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, but no, every month is in the old days. In the old days, only Edut. They never had a set count. Yeah, only Edut. These days, when Hillel Hazaken decided he's going to make a calendar based on mathematics forever, and that's what we use. We have a set calendar. In the old days, it could be any day, right? For example, they say Asara B'Tebet. If it would fall on Shabbat, we would fast. Ever hear this one before? Every year, Asra B'Tebet is such a heavy day that even if it was Shabbat, we would fast. It just can't fall out on Shabbat, right? Right? But maybe in the old days, maybe it would have been able to, and then maybe they never would have said that phrase, because we have a set calendar, like she's saying. We have a set calendar by Hillel. It's already set, and there are days where every holiday falls out. We're going to read the next line. Check this out. Check out the next line of Rashi. V'yamim hari'uyan l'kviyat Rosh Chodesh Adar. The only days in our calendar ever that Rosh Chodesh Adar will fall out is Zayin, Bet, Dalid, Vav, Zabdu. Sat Shabbat, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. V'siman Mesoret Hapsakat Rashiyot. If you want to remember, Rashi says, I have a good clue. If you want to remember the Adva Parashiyot forever, when it's always going to be. Someone says, when Shekalim this year? It's on a Tuesday. When is the Chodesh? On the third. When you want to remember, here's a siman. Kach, Zatu, Budad, Ubev. This is the code. Remember these words? You'll never forget it, says Rashi. Zatu, Bo, Dad, Ubev. What does this mean? Zeho Pirush, this is the explanation of the code. Zatu. What does Zatu mean? So the first letter of each code is the day Rosh Chodesh fell out on. And the next letter of the code is the day that we don't have any reading of the 4 readings. There's always a skip week, right? There's always a skip week. Look at our calendar. What is a skip week? It's Pirashat Kitisa. Is a skip week. So Rashi says, if someone says, when is the week we have no Parashat? I'll tell you exactly. When did Rosh Chodesh come? The Rosh Chodesh is on Zayin. Zatu.
It's always the week after
like
the Chodesh, huh?
Zatu. No, this is the code. Zatu. If it comes out on Zayin, then 2 is no reading. Let's read it. Pirush. Zatu. If Rosh Chodesh comes out on Zayin on Saturday, on the 7th day, then 2 Bishvat, 2 Be'av, 2 Be'adar would be the break. No reading. The 15th. There'll be no more skips. Only one skip that year. Because if it fell out on Shabbat, we're going to read Shekalim on Shabbat that day. Well, Shabbat Haba'ah, the next week, Parashat Zachor, because Zachor is the next week after that. Like we learned in the Beraita, the last page. Shabbat Shiniyah, Kol Shehad Purim Shabbat. We just said this. The second week has to have Zachor. Like Rav said, we go backwards. And if this happens, Purim will be on a Friday. And we hold like Rav that we go backwards. So therefore, the second week has to be Zachor. And so there's no break the second week. But the third week, Shiladan, Shu Yom Tu LaChodesh, Mafsikin, we're going to break. Understand? So if it falls out on Zayin, if Rosh Chodesh Adar is on Zayin on Saturday, Zatu, then Tevav, which is the 15th of the month, there's no reading. What is the 15th of the month? The third week. Because Rosh Chodesh Adar is the first. The 7th was the second, and the 15th is the third Shabbat. Okay? And this is how you do each one. Huh?
Rosh Chodesh Shabbat.
Rosh Chodesh is Zayin, which is Saturday. Then 2 is the break. Tevav, the 15th is the break.
Week.
The third week.
You said the second week.
No, the third week, because Rosh Chodesh is Saturday.
What he's saying is the second week that he's talking about. No?
No, 2, Tevav would be the third week. The third Shabbat of the month.
Which one was blank?
The third Shabbat is going to be blank. Exactly.
Rosh Chodesh, then Zachor.
Zachor, blank, para, chodesh. Next code. Let's do the next code. Now we know how the code works. We could do it ourselves. The next code is bo, bet vav. What does this mean? If Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out on bet on Monday, then vav is the break. When is vav? That Shabbat. That Shabbat, the first Shabbat, is going to be a break. Because the second Shabbat is going to be Zachor. And Shekalim is going to be already in the last month, Shabbat. Yeah, exactly. Understand the code? Next one, Dala, Dad. If Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out on Wednesday, then the fourth of the month, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which is the first Shabbat, is going to be in Hafsakah. There's no reading. Why? Because Shekalim was the last week, Shabbat.
Like this year.
When is this year? Rosh Chodesh Adar is Wednesday, yeah? That's why it's a break. See, exactly this year. Hazak Baruch. Look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Break. This is Dad. We're in a Dad year.
What do you mean break?
No special parasha. We have 4 parashiyot, but then there's going to be no special reading. So we have Shekalim, break, nothing.
Oh, I see.
Zachor, Para,
As
Chodesh.
opposed to in a row.
Yeah. So this code is to let you know if you have a shul and you're not living in the internet, you can't look. How do you know when there's how the parashiyot line up? When there's always going to be a break somewhere. Last one, Zatu. Zatu is Uba. Yud Vav. Vav, if Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out on Vav, which is Friday, then Bet, which is the next day, is going to be a break, no special reading. Why? Because we hold like Rav. And Shekalim will go back to the last week of Shivat. So the next day, the second of the month, no reading. And also Yud Vav of the month, the 16th of the month. So let's do it in our heads. Rosh Chodesh comes out on Friday. That's 1 Adar. 2 Adar, Saturday, no reading. The next Adar is going to be 9 Adar. We're going to do Zachor. And the next one is 16 Adar, break. And then Para, and then Chodesh. This is the code. Zatu, Bo, Dad, Uba. This is the code. Shulchan Aruch says as follows. Rosh Chodesh Adar hasamuch leNisan shehal liyot b'Shabbat. Rosh Chodesh Adar hasamuch leNisan. Remember those words. We'll get that in 1 second. That comes out on Shabbat. Kuni Peshat Shekalim. We all know this. We read Shekalim. If Rosh Chodesh Adar is on Shabbat, read Shekalim. Shei Kitisa. We hold like Kitisa, not like the Rosh Chodesh reading. Ad ve'asita. Umaftir va'ichlot Yehoyada. Umotziin shosha sefarim. Take out 3 Torahs, 1 for Rosh Chodesh, 1 for Shabbat, and 1 for Shekalim. Look at Mishnah Berurah. I always tell you, once you know the Gemara and then you learn the Halakha, you see how it's all the Gemara's words. You never would have known this before. You would have just ran right by it yesterday. Look at Mishnah Berurah. Kunim Peshat Shekalim. It says in the Mishnah Berurah, De'amar kira zot olat chodesh b'chocho lechochei hashana. Remember this question we asked? Chodesh b'chocho lechochei. How many times do we say the word chodesh? Extra words of chodesh. V'hai lechochei yiterahu, says Mishnah Berurah. It's an extra word. Ela amra Torah, yesh lecha chodesh she'ata tzarich lechadesho behaba'at olot timidin. This is exactly what our Gemara said last week. There is a month where you have to make sure that you get the money, announce the money. V'zeh Nisan. Exactly what the Gemara says. Says Mishnah Berurah. Since Nisan we bring the new korbanot, we announce it earlier. That's exactly what he says. So Mishnah Berurah literally tells you exactly what we learned. Next part of Maran Shulchan Aruch, B'Shabbat Sheniyah. And the second week, now again, we know this because remember the Gemara, it doesn't mean the second week of the month. It means the second week of reading, right? B'Shabbat Sheniyah, Motzin Shnei Sefarim, we take 2. Be'ahad Koreh Peshat HaShavua, U'B'Sheni Zachor, U'Maftir Pakadati, just like we learned in the Gemara. Next halakha, Shulchan Aruch, B'Shabbat Shlishit, Shiur Tet Vav Be'adar, 2 Mafsikin. Why? Because Zatu. He says literally, and if Rosh Chodesh Adar falls out on Shabbat, on the 15th, which is the third week, we take a break because of Zatu. In Shabbat Hamishi, we read HaHodesh. Siman Seif Vav. Listen to the Shulchan Aruch. Hayamim Shira'ui Lekpoa Bahem Rosh Chodesh Adar. The days that we can make Rosh Chodesh Adar are Zabdu, Zayin, Bet, Dalet, Vav. Mamash what Rashi said. Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. V'siman l'Shabbatot hafsakah, says Maran. If you want a siman to remember when there's a break, Zatu, Bo, Dad, Ubav. Mamash took it straight from Rashi. Now imagine you learn this and you never learned this Rashi before. What the world is he talking about? This is where he got it from. Kilomar, Shehad Rosh Chodesh b'Shabbat, Mafsikim b'Hamisha Asar Bo, which is Zatu. If Rosh Chodesh falls out on Monday, we follow Bu, which means the Vav, the 6th day of the month, which is the first Shabbat, or Rosh Chodesh Adar, is a skip. If it falls out on the Bi'i, we're going to do Dad, which is this year. If Rosh Chodesh Adar is Wednesday, which is the 4th day of the week, then the 4th day of the month is going to be no reading. This is the first week, the first Shabbat of Adar. This is this year. And the last one, if it falls out on Shishi, on Vav, Mafsikin b'Shtei Shabbatot. We have 2 breaks. 2 Shabbatot with no readings. Bet, V'yot Vav, V'siman, Ubav. This is exactly what we just learned in the Gemara. Maran Shulchan Aruch Halakha L'Maaseh, Siman 685. You can look it up yourself. Okay.
We have 2 breaks on one.
If it falls out on Vav, on Friday.
Whether it's Adar 1 or Adar 2, right?
We're talking about now the Adar that you do the readings in. We'll do that next, which Adar that is. Okay? Great. And then he finishes here and he says, Some people hold Zachor and Parah from the Torah. You have to hear them. Some people say, for these 2 prashiot, you have to make sure you go to a shul. Even if you live in a place with no shul, you got to go here, Zachor and Parah. Okay. Now, let's flip quickly to page Vav. Vav is the other bunch of pages. You should have it. Vav Amud Bet. There's a whole bunch. This one for sure I printed. Yeah, it's a single page. Okay, here we go. Ready? Mishnah. 3/4 of the way down the page. Mishnah. קראו את המגילה באדר הראשון ונתעברה השנה. If they read the Megillah now in Adar, and all of a sudden after Purim, they come and say, guys, guess what? We have decided it is a leap year. There is Adar Bet. Everything you just did was Adar Aleph. The whole party you spent money on was off my notes. The Megillah, all Adar Aleph.
When did they decide this? How did they get to decide?
They can decide on the spot. So the reason why they made leap years is to make sure Pesach is in the spring. And so they look at the weather, whatever it is. Pesach has to be in the spring. They made a last-minute decision. We're having a leap year. We're having a leap month. Just like that. Now, what does everyone do? Do you have to refund the Seudah? Yeah? What do you do? So, the Mishnah says, you got to read it again. You got to do take 2. You got to do it all over. And ben Adar Rishon Adar Sheni. The only difference between Adar Rishon and Adar Sheni, ela kiriyat Megillah umatanot la'evyonim. Megillah has to be in month 2, and matanot la'evyonim has to be in month 2 also. So far, this is what the Mishnah says. We have to give it a chance to breathe. And the Gemara to talk. But so far, it seems only these 2 mitzvot have to be done in the 2nd month. And everything else maybe could be done in the 1st month.
Like
Shekel for sure. Mishloach Manot maybe. The shekel is going to be the Adar before. It's going to be Adar Bet. Really, you're supposed to do it. But if you did it, it's okay. Yeah, but it's earlier. It's okay. You just can't be so late, right? You have extra time. Okay. Why Matanot Levyonim? So I'll tell you this outside. Hopefully we'll do this before Purim. There's a Gemara earlier in the Masechet, I think page 4 and also page 2, that says The poor people, they get very excited for Purim. It's their favorite day of the year. They love Purim because Purim, everyone has to reach into the pocket and give you money. And so therefore, says the Gemara, "Enehem tiluim l'kriyat megillah." The poor people are always listening. Hey, did they announce when Megillah reading is? We gotta go to Megillah reading. That's when we go around collect our flus, our money. And so therefore, for these guys, we always make sure Matanot Evyonim is together with Megillat Esther, always. For the poor people, because we'll break their hearts. If they come, oh, by the way, guys, yeah, we did Matanot Evyonim last month. Missed it. So we always have to make sure Matanot is together with Megillat Esther. Okay? Let's see what the Gemara has to say about this. Ha v'inyan seder prashiyot ze v'ze shavi. You said the only difference between Adad Aleph and Adad Bet is Megillah and Matanot. What about Shekalim, Paraduma, HaHodesh, Zachor, Seder Prashiyot? This is called Seder Prashiyot. The 4 Prashiyot. Ze v'ze shavim? It doesn't matter. I could do those in the first Adad. Is it okay? Or do we have to read all those 4 Prashiyot again? Not all 4, maybe 3 of them. Depends what you're up to. So it seems in Mishnah, it's kosher what you did. It says only Megillah and Matanot. So Halinyan Seder Prashiyot Ze v'ze shavim. Mani Matitin. Who is our author of our Mishnah? It's a very interesting opinion. Who could this author of the Mishnah be? Lo Tanakama. It can't be Tanakama, which we'll see in a second. V'lo Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yossi. It can't be Rabbi Eliezer. V'lo Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. It can't even be him. We know there's 3 opinions out there, and our Mishnah doesn't seem to fit in any of the opinions. Something's weird with this Mishnah. What are these opinions? The Tanya like we learned. If they already read the Megillah in the first Adar, and they decided to make a leap year, you have to read it again. Says the Mishnah. Who's speaking now? The Tanakama. Tanakama is the anonymous first opinion of every Mishnah. If there's no name, we call him the Tanakama. Kama means first. Like Baba Kama, Baba Metzia, Baba Kama is the first Baba. Okay? So the Tanakama says, Shekom is what? Shenohagot b'sheni, nohagot b'rishon. Chutz mimikra Megillah. Every mitzvah that you do in the first month, in the second month, can be done in the first month, besides for Megillah. And so Tanakama holds very clearly, only Megillat Esther must be in the second Adar. What about Matanot? Seems to him Matanot could be in the first one, which is not our Mishnah. It can't be him. Next opinion. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi Omer, and Korin Ota be'Adar Rishini. Nah, you already read it once. Chalas, let's leave it. You already did it. You're yotzeh. Sheichom mitzvot she'nogot b'sheni, nohagot b'rishon. Every mitzvah that you did in the second month, that you did in the first month, is kosher. That's for sure not our Mishnah. Rashbag Omer, Mishum Rabbi Yosef, Af Korin Ota be'Adar Rishini. No, you have to read it again. What is his reason? Sheichom mitzvot she'nogot b'sheni, en nohagot b'rishon. Because all the mitzvot that you do in the second month, you can't do in the first month. Seems like a Tanakama. It seems like the first opinion. The first opinion and the third opinion both say that you have to read it again. But everyone agrees that for mourning and eulogizing and fasting, you got to be careful not to do it on both of the Purims on both of the months. We're only talking now about the pro mitzvot, the positive doing mitzvot, not to mourn. Mourning, everyone agrees. Purim Katan, let's call it. It's a question where this name came from, Purim Katan. Who made this name up, Purim Katan? Purim Katan, you shouldn't do mourning, hesped, ta'anit, all this stuff.
That one you're talking about.
I'm going to call it Purim Katan. But it's a big question where that name came from. Okay, it's not in the Gemara. Okay. Mourning and fasting, you can't do them both. Now, we have 3 opinions. The first and the third one seem very similar. That if you read it in the first month, you got to read it again. So the Gemara is going to ask this. What's the difference between Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel and the first opinion? They both hold the same thing. Amar Papa says, Seder Parashiyot Ika Benayu. They disagree about the Seder Parashiyot. Shekalim, Zachod, Parana, Hodesh. The Tanakama Sabar, the first opinion holds the Chatehila Besheni. You should really do Shekalim and Zachor, etc. in the second month. Vi Avud Berishon Avud. If you did it in the first month, fine, keep it, it's kosher, don't do it again.
By the way, just to take a side note, who set the parameters that we have to read these parashiyot? Do we know?
Good, so we don't have to read them from the Torah, all of them. Zachor, we know we have to read it. It doesn't say when to read it.
But when did it become a thing that we're going to read these 4 parashiyot?
When did it become a thing?
I have to take it off.
But we know,
It seems like always, they're not tied to Purim. You don't have to have Purim. The question is,
Where did it come from?
we know where it came from. The question is, when during the year did they read it?
Right, but where did it come from?
So Zachor, it says, Zachor.
The whole is the
We
whole.
know.
Right.
Para Aduma it's a question how we know, huh? It's a mahloket. It doesn't say in Para Aduma, read this every year. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say the word Zachor. So Para Aduma,
Zachor we know.
Zachor we know for sure. Para Aduma it's a question if it's from the Torah or not. But it's at very least a Misorah.
Okay.
Peshat Hodesh also is, you would say it's a Misorah. I would say they always did it. The only question for me is when did they do it? It doesn't say when you have to do these things. We pile them in this month because it all seems to fit the theme of the month of Purim. Chodesh for Chodesh.
It's a little bit of an aberration because we have every week you read this.
We
but
never
this
do
week
this.
You read this,
Yeah.
and that.
Yeah, so Zachor, maybe they read Zachor at a different time before Purim. We want to read Zachor, we're going to talk about it in 1 second, next to Purim.
Right.
But before the story of Purim, maybe they read it on different times.
But why not just the fact that we read it in the parasha and that's good enough?
That's very good. So that's very true. Maybe that's what they did. By the way, the Hatam Sofer has a very interesting opinion. He says, besides for that, the Hatam Sofer says, Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Remember what Amalek did. How long does a human being remember for? Well, how long do we say Kaddish? How long is mourning for? Well, no, 12 months. And so therefore, a person remembers something for 12 months. This is Hatam Sofer says this. So there's a leap month, and month 13, I'm forgetting Zachor. I should have to do it again.
Anyway.
You should have to do it again. Hatam Sofer says, in a leap year, you should have kavanah, Peshat Ki Tetzeh. I'm doing it again, so I don't forget it in month 13. But the other, maybe when they read it during the week. We'll see now in 1 second. They want to bunch these next to this time of year. It's a very good question. Let's see. Tanakama holds, Seder Parashiyot is really best done in the second month. V'abud b'rishon abud. But if you did the Parashiyot, you read Zachor in the first month, all right, fine, leave it. We're not going to make you do it again.
But you missed all the other ones.
Bad megillah, except for megillah, huh?
But you missed all the other ones.
What other ones?
Well, in that month that we read them, the first Adar, we're going to say different.
Let's see.
That's going to be different.
No, in the first Adar, we made believe, we thought it was going to be Purim soon.
Right.
We did Shekalim.
But now it's not. We know for sure it wasn't.
Now we know it wasn't.
It wasn't. So those 4 Parashiyot we missed.
So according to the Tanakama, resume your normal schedule. Don't do them again. Don't do Shekalim again. Right? According to, according to the Rabban Shimon Gamliel, no, you have to read them again.
So you lost on the first one.
You lost the 4 haftarot of the normal week because you're going to do Shekalim twice. According to the Rabban Shimon. Make up the haftarot? Let's see. The Afal Gav Dekaru B'Rishon HaKar B'Sheni. Tanakama holds Mikra Megillah. There is no such thing as you have to do it again. Always. You have to read it again. At the night, you'd say in the first month. But Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi, Sabad, the second opinion holds it's okay what you did. He holds Afil Mikra Megillah Lekat Tehillah B'Rishon. You could do anything you want in the first month. And the third opinion, Rabban Shimon Gamliel Sabad, Afil Seder Parashiyot Ikaru B'Rishon Karu B'Sheni. Even the Shekalim and Zachor, if you read it last month, you got to do it again and read it in the next month. He'll give a reason for this. Hold on. Mani, who is our Mishnah? Our Mishnah said the only difference between Adar Rishon and Sheni is Megillah and Matanot. Nothing about Seder Parashiyot. Mani, Tanakama. If you want to say it's a Tanakama, who holds Seder Parashiyot is kosher in the first month? Kashya Matanot. It's a problem with Matanot. Tanakama holds Matanot is kosher in the first month. Our Mishnah holds Matanot not kosher in the first month. If it's Rabbi Eliezer, he holds even Megillah is kosher in the first month. And our Mishnah says clearly it's not. If it's Rashbag, Rashbag holds Seder Parashiyot also is not kosher in the first month. And our Mishnah doesn't say anything about Seder Parashiyot. Their olam Tanakama. It's really the Tanakama. V'Tana Mikra Megillah v'hu adin matanot evyonim. Our Mishnah really, Tanakama meant to say also matanot have to be in the second month. He didn't say so specifically. Why? Like I said, Deha behatalya. Everyone knows the matanot has to be during Megillah. They're tied at the hip, so he really holds the same thing as us. Or you can say le'olam rashbagi. Our Mishnah is rashbag. Umatitin hasure mihsera. Our Mishnah is missing words. It's a mistake. It's supposed to have more words. Ve'ahachi katani. It should say en ben arba'a asar shebadal rishon le'odal shebadal sheni ela mikra megillah umatanot. Ha'le'inyan seder ha'le'inyan hesped v'ta'anit zeveze shavin. Everyone holds that you cannot do mourning. We're not even talking about the parashiyot. And so maybe he holds even the parashiyot is not kosher in the first month. If you're confused at this point, it's very simple. Don't worry. Our Mishnah holds that megillah has to be in the second month. Matanot evyonim has to be in the second month. And shekalim and zachor, we're not sure what he holds. Either it's kosher if you did it in the first month, or you have to do it again. Now let's get the reasons. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Hilcheta k'Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. The halacha is like Rashbag, who holds what? Shema Mishum Yossi. He holds what? That if you did the following in the first month, you must repeat it. Megillat Esther, Matanot Evyonim, Shekalim, Zachor, Para, and Chodesh. All that must be repeated. You have to do it all over again. It's not kosher the first month. This is the halakha l'maaseh. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, what is their reasons for their argument? Ushnehem ikra hadashu. They both have the same pesukim they're explaining and they're learning from. It says in the Megillat Esther, this is the Megillat Esther, it says like this. Lachen, therefore, the Yehudim celebrated Megillat Esther bizmanehem bechol shana v'shana. This is a pasuk. At the end of Megillat Esther, when the story's over and it's like boring and you want it to finish already, there's a pasuk says, therefore, therefore, the Yehudim celebrate bechol shana v'shana, every single year. Purim. This is what it says. What does that say? Every single year they celebrate Purim. What is Esther and Mordechai, who wrote this, telling us? Every single year you got to keep this holiday. Just say bechol shana. Every year. No, bechol shana v'shana.
Yeah.
So let's see. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi Sabar, bechol shana v'shana. It's hinting to halacha. Ma kol shana v'shana adar hasamuch l'shevat. Afkan adar hasamuch l'shevat. Esther and Mordechai are saying to us, every year you read Megillat Esther after Shevat. So too in a leap year, you should read Megillat Esther after Shevat. It goes after Shevat, which means Adar Aleph is the main month. Every single year. Every year Purim has to be celebrated before Nisan. And so that's going to be the second month. So they disagree on how to read the pasuk. I understand the first reason why it should be in month A and not in month B. Why? In ma'avidin ala mitzvot. We don't pass by a mitzvah. You have a mitzvah coming to your hand, al tahmisena. Grab the mitzvah. Why are you waiting a whole month? How do you know you're going to live another month? We should all live 120. Grab the mitzvah. And so it makes sense. Let's just do it right away. Ela Rashbag, according to Rashbag, who holds, we're going to do it the second month. My ta'ama, what is his reason? There has to be a logic to him also, besides for the pasuk. Amar Rabbi Tavi, ta'ama Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, misamich geola legeola adiv. Benisan nigalu, or benisan atidin leigayel, right? And Nisan is a month of redemption. We got out of Egypt in Nisan, and a lot of the Gemara says in Nisan will be the final redemption. And therefore, we really want the Geulah of Purim to be next to the Geulah of Nisan. We love the theme of the holidays, if you think about it. We go on a springboard, Purim, Pesach, bam, just like that. Geulah to Geulah. Let's get in the holiday mode. If you do it in the first month, it's Purim, forget about it for 2 months, and then Pesach. I want it to be bunched together. Misamech Geulah v'Geulah. Okay.
It's not one of the four Geulot.
4 Geulot?
It's not one of the four.
Galuts.
Yeah.
Galut Mitzrayim? It doesn't have to be one of the four. It's still Geulah. I mean, the Ga'alti Yedchem. I redeemed you, as Hashem says. It's a Geulah. No? Okay. This is their reasons. What do we hold al Chala Ma'aseh? We know what we hold. It has to be the second bit. So which just means we hold the second opinion. That we want the Geulah to Geulah. We want the theme of the holiday. So in other words, we're supposed to be thinking about this. When it's a leap year, or even in a regular year, during Purim, we're supposed to say, the rabbis purposely want us to be right before Pesach. Adar Aleph, so you can eat all the candy.
Well, because you get Mishloach Manot, and then you got to get rid of it.
Yeah, so you can have an extra month. But the rabbis, they wanted us to fly from one to another.
So that's just the reading or including the mitzvot?
So we didn't talk about Mishloach Manot, right? We talked about Matanot, we talked about Purim, Megillah, we talked about Parashiyot. Mishloach Manot we didn't talk about yet. So let's put that one on hold. But I want to go through a couple of Tosafot with you. Interesting. See, if you see the top Tosafot, he explains the whole leap year thing. It's very short. Top Tosafot of Amun Bet. If you read it already in the first month, they didn't know it was going to be a leap year yet. After this, they decided to make a leap year. That's the first opinion. That you don't have to repeat it. Okay. Look at the second Tosafot. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi Sabad, Af Mikra Megillah. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yossi holds you're supposed to read Megillah in the first month. The Dayak Meditani Mishnah Yitera, Shechom Misvot Shunagot B'Sheni Nohagot B'Rishon. He uses the words of our Mishnah. It says all the mitzvot of the first month, of the second month, are in the first month. The Mashma L'Chatahila. It's better to do it in the second month. V'yesh nohagin, says Tosafot. V'yesh nohagin la'asot yemei mishteh v'simcha be'arba'a asar or b'chamisha asar shel adar harishon. Tosafot says some people have a custom that they celebrate even the first month of Purim, the first month of Adar. Sorry. And then he says a few more things. We'll skip to the end.
It's like Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Some of them.
Well, I mean, if you have different communities, then if they decided, hey, let's make a leap year right now, how does that other community that's in a different place know that hey, they decided to make a leap year?
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. If you live in a
they may have different.
But it's all disseminated from within Yerushalayim, so you get the.
It takes time.
Right.
Takes time.
If you're in Huslaris,
Right.
you can be in big trouble.
Yeah.
The big concern is Pesach. That's the biggest concern. If you find out too late, you got 2 weeks. Imagine 2 weeks till Pesach.
The dog one has 2 days also, or no?
Dad, one day,
1 day.
I believe.
But they've had machlokes about calendars before.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem, now we have an easy calendar. No one.
Right, but they used to like have big disputes between I
so
think
we
it
do
was Sadia Gaon and
Imagine Pesach. Imagine you don't know when Pesach is. Imagine. If you look at the end of the Tosafot, he says, "V'chin halacha." I skipped to the end. V'chin halacha she'en tzarich la'achmid la'asot mishteh v'simcha be'adar rishon. You don't have to be strict to do parties and everything and a meal, Purim Seudah on Purim Katan, let's call it, on the first Purim Adar. Some people say you should. Tosafot says you don't have to. One more Tosafot. I think Ezra's going to like this one. Ezra, you ready for this Tosafot? Mistabra. Mistabra ta'ameh de'em ma'avidin al-mitzvot. Remember we said the reason for the first one is, hey, en ma'avidin, we don't pass by a mitzvah. If you have a mitzvah, do it right away. Look at Tosafot's question. Mikan kasha, I have a question. What we say in the morning in Korbanot, it's a Mishnah, it's a Gemara. What do we say? We know this, right? And so he used to spill the blood on the western foundation of the Mizbeach. Why? Why did he do this? Why? We say it every single day. Why did he spill it on the west? So Gemara says, the reason says the Gemara, El Yesod Mizbaf Ha'olah, to the foundation of the Mizbeach, and therefore we learn from the Pasuk that it should be the western side. Says Tosafot, V'kasha, Hatam lama li kira. Why do I need a pasuk to teach me? I pour the blood on the western side of the mizbeach. Tepokle, just learn it. The en ma'avidin al mitzvot. You can't pass by mitzvot. If you can't pass by mitzvot, when the guy turns around with the blood, the first place he hits is the western side of the mizbeach. And so that should be the reason. If you really hold the en ma'avidin al mitzvot, we need the whole pasuk for. En mizbeach ha'olah? Nah. En ma'avidin. You can't pass it by. Ukshihu yoseh, look at those thoughts. Ukshihu yoseh mipetach ha'echal, when he turns around and leaves the hechal, shu ma'arav, which is west, b'yesod ma'aravi, in the western side of the mizbeach, hu depaga beresha, that's what he hits first. And the answer is, he says, no, we're not understanding what it means, en ma'avidin al mitzvot. It doesn't mean that the first thing you do, you have to do. He says, no. V'yesh mefarshim, delo shayach lememar, en ma'avidin al mitzvot, אלא היכא שיש לפניו שתי מצוות שיש לעשות קודם, אותה דפגה ברשע. It's talking about when I have two mitzvot to do. Do I do mitzvah A, or do I wait and do mitzvah B? You always have to choose the one that's in front of you. But when it's the same mitzvah, and it's like, how should I do this mitzvah? In corner west of the mizbeach or corner east of the mizbeach? That doesn't even apply to the mitzvot. So it's an interesting concept. In ma'avidin mitzvot doesn't mean I have to have mitzvah to do kiddush. I'm going to do it on the second I walk into my house.
Right.
No, just do it in the proper time. You know, it means when I have to put on a scale, this mitzvah or that mitzvah, do whatever comes first. This is a yesod from Tosafot. Last Shulchan Aruch, and we'll wrap it up. This is the last Sima Shulchan Aruch in Orach Haim. It's the end of the book. It's a very famous Ramah. Moshe Islis, when I say it, you'll know. En omrim, and I want you to listen to Maran. He doesn't call it Purim Katan. En omrim tehina biyodal v'tevav shebe'adar rishon. We don't say Anna on Purim Katan of Adar Rishon. Yom Yudalid v'tevav shebe'adar rishon. En noflim apenehem. We don't say Tahanun. Ve'en omrim mizmor ya'ancha Hashem yom sarah. Ve'asurim behesped v'ta'anit. We don't fast or do eulogies. Abal she'ad devarim en nohagim bahem. All the other things of celebrating Purim and all that, we don't do all that stuff. It's a regular day, the 14th of Adar Rishon. Ve'yesh omrim, some people say, da'af behesped v'ta'anit mutarim, that you're even allowed to do hesped and eulogies and ta'anit. It's a 0 day. There's no holiness to this day. Adar Rishon doesn't mean anything. That's Maran Shulchan Aruch. What is the rule with Maran? Stam ve'yesh halakha ke? Stam. Because he said stam. He didn't say yesh omrim the first time. He said Yom Tov. That's a stam. And then he said ve'yesh. Stam ve'yesh halakha ke stam. Yesh ve'yesh halakha ke ve'yesh. Got it? When Maran Shulchan Aruch says, you got this? When Maran Shulchan Aruch says a halakha, and he says, we don't do this. And some people say we do it. The first one is a stam. He didn't say some people say. He said we don't do it. That wins. That wins. But if he says some people say we turn left, and some people say we turn right, we go by the second one. That's the rule from Maran Shulchan Aruch. Ramah, the very famous Ramah. This is the end of the book of Orach Haim. Moshe Islis. V'amenhag kesvara harishona. We hold like the first one. Yesh omrim shechayav leharbot mebeshtei v'simcha. Some people say you should have a lot of party and happiness in Adar Rishon, v'yod dalid shebe'adar Rishon, ve'en noagin ken, but it's not the custom. U'mikom hakom, however, yirbe kesat b'seudah, you should have a bigger meal, a little bit of a bigger meal, kedei leset yedei hamachmirim, so that you can fulfill the people who hold you should be doing seudah Purim in the first Adar. V'tov lev mishteh tamid. You know this phrase? V'tov lev mishteh tamid. A good heart is always partying. This is how he ends the Sefer. And so everyone always says the Shulchan Aruch Orach Haim, it starts and it ends with the same words. Tamid, right? The first halakha of Shulchan Aruch is you should always wake up with energy in the morning. And the end of Shulchan Aruch ends also with the word tamid from the Ramah, that a happy heart is always partying. And so halakha l'ma'aseh, Purim is on Adar Bet for sure. If you did it in Adar Aleph, sorry, no refunds. You got to do it again. Matanot always have to be on the day of Megillah. And by the way, this is something for us to remember. If there are poor people during Megillah reading, you may want to use that opportunity to make it that your Matanot Levyonim. that you really look at that day. The 4 parashiyot is always going to be in Adar Bet.
Before.
Matanot Evuni? No.
Before, so they can have it to eat on.
No, Matanot is on the day. On the day of Purim. Yeah.
So no one give the rabbi ahead of time.
No, on the day of Purim.
He
The
gives
four-
it on the day.
Then he's your shaliach to do it on the day, but the mitzvah is on the day. But the 4 parashiyot have to be in the second month. And now you know the code. Zutu, Bu, Dad, Ubav. And you can look it up in Shulchan Aruch. And you can also look it up in the Mishnah. So if you're in the Rashi on page, page Lamed Amud Bet, 30b, Rashi, you get the code. Got it? All right, yalla. You have minyan? Yes, you tired? Rabbi Hainu Shamed. Asaka, this was
Man.